Montenegro, a small formerly communist Balkan country, will be the newest of its 28 members. After years of fighting internal political and legal corruption to qualify for membership, Montenegro has finally been welcomed to NATO. But with this invitation comes old rivalries, mainly Russia. One spokesman for Russian President Vladimir Putin has even called this addition a mistake and provocation. But Montenegro is a very small country with a tiny military and no present conflicts. Their admission into NATO will not likely have any large ramifications for the organization or world as a whole. So why is Russia so angry? Well, to answer this question fully, we need to go back to the beginning of the Cold War. NATO was formed in part as a response to the Soviet Union's dramatic power gains following World War II. Today, NATO is comprised of 28 countries across Europe and North America, but the original 12 countries were all Western, including Belgium, the US, Canada, the UK, and France. As soon as the Soviet Union disintegrated and nations under its Iron Curtain became independent, they were desperate to exercise and protect their political and cultural freedoms from encroaching superpowers like Russia. So they turned to NATO. In the 90s and 2000s, 12 of these Eastern European states joined NATO. Among these were the 3 Baltic states, which had been a part of the USSR and which, it has been said, Putin still considers rightful Russian land. And this is why Russia gets angry when formerly communist countries join NATO. Essentially, Russia sees NATO as an enemy and a potential threat to Russia reaching its former glory. Russia's December 2014 official military doctrine stated that NATO is Moscow's main existential enemy. And Russia's attempts to reclaim its former empire are not sparse. We only have to look at Russia's recent annexation of Crimea and its similar aggression against 2 Georgian provinces in 2008. Because NATO membership guarantees protection to member countries under attack, it would mean that if they were to accept Ukraine or Georgia, almost immediate military attention would be necessary to protect them from Russia. The 5th article of the original treaty plainly states, the parties agree that an armed attack against one or more of them in Europe or North America shall be considered an attack against them all. While some NATO diplomats have reportedly said Montenegro's invitation sends a message to Moscow that they have no veto power or authority over which countries join, the U.S. has denied that the invitation has anything to do with Russia. At a recent press conference, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry said, NATO is not a threat to anyone. It is a defensive alliance. It is simply meant to provide security. It is not focused on Russia or anyone else. Still, Russia's response is indicative of how it would feel if larger countries like Ukraine and Georgia successfully joined NATO. Both countries have requested membership, and it's clear that Russia would not want this to happen. What's unclear, though, is when and if these countries will ever join. The alliance has strict membership requirements that include political, economic, and military goals that they say many formerly communist countries still do not meet.
This movement. It's November 23rd, 2016. I'm bringing you news on World War III as we're getting closer and closer every day to this World War III. We just watched the video. It was how NATO was developed after World War II. After World War II, NATO was developed for the Western countries that had protection against Russia. And people ask, well, if Russia was our ally during World War II, why would we have to make NATO to protect our allies, the United States of America, including Canada, the Western world, from Russia? Because during World War II, the first year or two, Russia was allies with Nazi Germany. All right, and Russia is a superpower and was becoming a superpower before the Cold War. So they invented NATO to protect the Western countries from Russia. From 1945 to 1991, to the collapse of the Soviet Union, you had the Eastern Bloc. That was from the Berlin Wall to nowadays Russia. That includes Poland, Ukraine, Romania, Yugoslavia, a lot of countries. Lithuania, Estonia, Crimea, that's now part of Russia. But they lost all that land. All right. And after 91, all 12 countries that used to be part of the Soviet Unions joined NATO, and a couple more are joining as we speak right now. And each time they join, Russia gets mad because that used to be Russia's territory. So Russia gets mad when an old communist country joins the NATO, because NATO was invented to defend the Western countries from Russia's aggression. So, like I was saying, we're on the verge of World War III. Excuse me, had to get a drink of water there. So, even when Trump comes in office, we're still on the verge of World War III, and Russia backed Trump for an election, and half you dumb people don't understand it, was because Trump wants to get rid of NATO and the countries that don't pay it. All right, that's basically our defense wall to America and to the Western world. It protects us from Russia, that is still a rising power. And the reason I say still is a rising power is because of Vladimir Putin, the president. Vladimir Putin used to be one of the head people in the KGB before the fall of the Soviet Union. Vladimir Putin attacked Georgia, attacked Crimea, part of Ukraine, and took Crimea back. Also, Russia owns lands between the old Eastern Bloc that they have missile defense. All right. The truth is, we're on the verge of World War III. Okay. With all these drills. Now, it's not uncommon for Russia to hold a drill or a country to hold a drill for its protection. It's perfectly normal. But when you have, like in this article, Russia and NATO hold dual drills 150 miles apart at the same time in the Balkans, all they're doing is holding drills, but they're moving the pieces in the plan, so when World War III happens, the pieces are there. Right now, as we speak, Russia has their aircraft carriers surround the Mediterranean Sea. They got a whole bunch of fleets. They got the Black Sea. They got Crimea again. And they're putting a missile defense system. China's backing Russia to surround Syria, so America cannot even get close to Syria. And I'm dead serious. The United States of America, we can't even launch a missile in Syria. We cannot even set boots on the ground because the whole border of Syria is nothing but Russian ships and Chinese ships. And the reason for that is because Syria is where Russia and China gets all their gas and oil. All right, if you want to win a war, you want to stop the supply. That's what I was taught. All right, so we're able to conquer Syria and put in our government. We stop the supplies of Russia and China, and we put them out the way that they want them. All right, so if we stop Syria and destroy them, we took over, we control Russia and China's oil and gas goods. All right, in this article right here, you can read Russia and NATO holds dual drills 150 miles apart in Balkans. The reason for this is because they're putting pawns and pieces into places for World War III. The reason Trump and the Russian people were behind Trump is because he wants to get rid of NATO. And NATO was invented to stop the Russians' aggression on the Western world. And this article is going to be at the bottom. This is by the Telegraph News. NATO accuses Russia of stoking tension in Europe over Baltic deployment of anti-ship missiles. So you guys could read about the new anti-missiles that they deployed right between Poland and Ukraine. Okay. And the reason Russia, even though they're not telling this, it's putting anti-ship missiles and missiles in the Baltics around regions and having Crimea is because these other countries, like Lithuania, Estonia, they used to all be part of the Soviet Union, can't defend itself from Russia. All right. If you look at Sweden, Norway, Finland, all right, at World War III, when it pops out, the first countries Russia is going to invade is Finland, all right, is Sweden, all right, is Switzerland, all right, is Ukraine. All these countries ain't got a way to defend themselves. So we took NATO out the picture. Russia controls all these countries, and that's where they're afraid of, because Russia knows that they could gain countries like Finland, Sweden, Norway, Ukraine, Lithuania, like that. But in the NATO treaty, if Russia ever goes against one of those countries, then they're going against all of us. That's what's to protect us. So right now, Russia's getting prepared for war in the Baltic region. And another thing that's crazy about this is that when World War III happens, it's going to be that's why it's called the Cold War. It's going to be a Cold War. All right. Even though the majority of us live in the northern part of the United States, even if you live down in North Carolina, we see snow and it gets cold. Right? But our army ain't used to fighting in the snow. Our army is used to fighting in the Middle East for the past 20-some years. All right, the last time our army fought in the cold and in the snow and had military training for cold warfare was during World War II. Remember that. And even during World War II, our soldiers then had winter gear. So during 1941-42, when we were in World War II, and we tried to march into Russia while Russia was allies with Germany, our soldiers were dying by hundreds. Even nowadays, we don't have the equipment. We just have equipment for the Middle East and warm warfare. Our soldiers, our army ain't trained in cold warfare. All right? And that's another degree that people don't understand that Russia has over the United States of America, is that they train their soldiers to fight in the cold climate. It's Russia, Siberia. When the cold, all right, we should have anti-missile on Siberia. Like right now in the wintertime, if it freezes over, we could walk from Russia to Alaska. And people don't even understand that. Now, in this article at the bottom, it says World War III scenario, NATO surrenders to Russia. And the person that wrote this is writing this because when Trump comes into office and we stop supporting NATO, if Trump really decides on it, hopefully he doesn't, but if Trump says no more NATO, we ain't going to be in NATO no more because we fund it all up, that's what happens to those other countries. Russia's going to go in there and take them up. That's going to really happen, folks. Russia's going to go to Finland. Russia's going to go to Norway. Russia's going to go to Poland, Crimea, all their old parts of the Soviet Union and gather it up. That's the way Vladimir Putin thinks. That's the way Vladimir Putin thinks because he used to be a KGB and part of the Soviet Union. All right? He's putting pieces all over places. He is sending planes near France, UK. See how close they could get without them retaliating. He wants them to. All right, this is all a mind game. This one out there, go. This is all part of the New World Order's plan too, so don't get me wrong there. And this article is going to be at the bottom. Same thing, World War III news. Russia to invade Europe if U.S. leaves NATO. All right. The election Donald Trump as the next U.S. president has fueled fears of World War III. European leaders has expressed concerns over a breakout of armed conflict between Europe and Russia. And they're absolutely right. NATO, I'm going to keep on repeating, was created to defend the aggression of Russia after World War II. All right, folks. And if we just leave NATO, three is going to happen. The first regions that's going to be taken are the Baltic states. Is not trained for winter combat. All right, look, I'm going to keep it. Ain't trained for winter combat. Are for warm climate combat. Like the Middle East, like Vietnam, like Japan. World War got cold out in World War II. We years to gain that ground. But when it got cold out, our army troops dropped. Not even from shells and bullets. It's because of our armor, what we wear. Our army's not trained for close combat training. And if you don't believe me, just ask somebody you know that's in the military. Ask, have you ever been trained in cold combat training? And they're going to tell you, no. Let's move on. Airstrikes on Aleppo resume as Russia begins new offense in Syria. Now, remember a week before, this is a week after Trump was elected, but a week before Trump was elected, the UN, the United States of America, said if you guys keep resuming firing on Aleppo, we're going to step in. As soon as Donald Trump was elected and the view has changed, Russia regained shooting at Aleppo and defending Assad's army. And the reason Russia is defending Syria is because that's where they get all their oil and gas. You cut off the supply line of oil and gas to any country, you won the war, folks. And so, with Trump winning, Russia regained what it was doing. And the reason Obama ain't stopping it is because right now, until January 20th, 2017, it's called transitional period. Whatever the president of the United States after the election till January 20th, unless this is a second term president, they got re-indicted, they stop everything as they transfer the power to one president to the next president. In this article by RT, Putin, Russian military not threaten anybody who are protecting our borders. So, Vladimir Putin is saying that our country is so big in this article that we ain't engaging in war. We're just protecting our borders for our people. Alright? But what they're really doing is preparing for war. Alright, folks? They're moving all the pieces into place. They're on their own borders because they're ready to invade. If America leaves NATO, yes, they're ready to invade and take back what they used to hold. Alright, that's why Russian Vladimir Putin wanted Trump in so bad, because Trump said he's going to get rid of NATO or the countries that don't pay. And the countries that don't pay used to be the old Soviet Union communist countries, and so Russia wants to take back the lands that's rightfully theirs. That's what they believe. And the next thing, missiles. Alright, they tested all these missiles in Syria. Alright, they're new ballistic, and they're spending $650 billion, $1 trillion almost. They're spending from 2017 to year 2020 on upgrading their military, if we're not in a war yet. Okay? And Russia has the world's biggest, right now, even though people don't think Russia's a threat, Russia has the world's biggest nuclear arms. Russia has the world's most tanks. Russia has the world's most standing armor vehicles. Okay, folks? So this map shows how Russia has Europe spooked. Between Poland and Lithuania, like I said, they put all different kind of missiles. I mean, missiles with sonic boom speeds, 1,000 miles per hour that could reach 200 miles, all the way up to 900 miles. They got different kind of missiles, and it's between the Baltic states: Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Belarus, Ukraine, Poland, Germany, Sweden. All right, where the Baltic Sea is, Russia's preparing for war with the Baltic countries. All right, they want their old land back. I'm going to keep on repeating it. They want their old land back. But since Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, Belarus, and Ukraine are all part of NATO, if they fire upon it, well, guess what happens? It's going to be World War III right off back. All right, but they're waiting for Trump. When he's inaugurated on January 20th, next year sometime, when he says we're out of NATO, Russia's going to step right in and regain all their land. But the truth of the matter, the fact is, we're on the verge of World War III because the people that control the world wants World War III. This guy actually made the best sense. He's saying that Russia and America, we ain't super powers anymore. We're just great powers. And that we're losing every single day our country, our money, because of the debt ceiling, our economy, and we're trying to ingrain our glorious day. So that's what's going to happen and make World War III. But the truth of the matter of fact is World War III is to wipe out all the superpowers on Earth. Russia, China, America, Japan. Once all the superpowers on Earth is wiped out, then the New World Order system comes in that will be United Nations and splits up our Earth between 10 to 14 regions. And we're on the verge of World War III, folks. Okay, I got a lot more videos coming. Please like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. This is the No Face Movement. Moving. Till next time, facing off.